Hello hockey fans, Oddman Rush here and welcome back to another video. It's actually my first video of 2024. Happy New Year everyone! Now instead of making my usual This Week in Hockey content, I wanted to make a video on something that I've been really excited about over this past week, and that is the Professional Women's Hockey League, or the PWHL for short, because oh my god is this league a lot of fun folks. Now I'll be honest, my experience of women's hockey and my exposure to women's hockey was pretty limited before the start of the PWHL's inaugural season. I did keep tabs on the Montreal Force last season, and I did go to their first ever home game in Premier Hockey Federation history, RIP PHF, gone but not forgotten, we will remember you ladies. That being said, I didn't really take as much of a deep dive into the PHF as a whole or the Montreal Force roster as I usually do with other leagues around the hockey world. I was aware of some of the star players in the league, but I didn't really go into much detail and kind of research it as much as I do other leagues. So I decided, with the announcement of the PWHL earlier this year, with the league starting on January 1st, New Year 2024, I wanted to make a concerted effort to watch the league, support the league, see what it's all about, and ladies and gentlemen, I have not been disappointed in the slightest. The PWHL is honestly some of the most exciting hockey I have watched in a long time. So for those of you who don't know how the PWHL was formed, essentially there were two different women's hockey associations competing in North America before this league. It was the PWHPA, which was the Professional Women's Hockey Association, and the aforementioned Premier Hockey Federation, the PHF, which the Montreal Force took part in last season. Now there were some investors that came to the PWHPA, they were able to acquire the Premier Hockey Federation and essentially cease operations of the PHF, and now the PWHPA, the PHF, they've combined into one united league, the Professional Women's Hockey League, the PWHL, which I definitely think was the right decision in the long run. Women's hockey really did need one united league where the best players, the Olympian players, the world champion players are all competing against each other to find the best of the best, right? You can't really say that you're the best women's hockey league if you don't have the best of the best players. Now we finally have that, and it's looking like we're off to a good start, I think. It was a bit of a rushed process, I think, for the PWHL to get ready and get started on January 1st. That being said, the fact that they've managed to have this entire turnaround, have their first ever entry draft, get on the ice and playing legitimate professional women's hockey games within about 6 to 8 months of the league being announced, I think that's nothing short of a miracle, to be honest. And the fact that they've put on such a professional showing, both on and off the ice, is an absolute credit to everybody that's been working both behind the scenes and in front of the cameras for the PWHL. Everybody that's been involved has done an amazing job so far, and the hockey has actually been incredible. It's been so exciting to watch. Why don't we start by discussing the inaugural PWHL game? New Year's Day 2024, the New York side visit Toronto, and what an absolutely amazing performance it was from New York in the first game of the season. A 4-0 victory over Toronto. Corrine Schroeder, the netminder for New York, a 29 save shutout to record the first shutout in both New York and league history. Ella Shelton not only scoring the first goal in her franchise's history, but the first goal in PWHL league history as well, and what an absolute snipe it was as well. Toronto are the only team so far at the time of this recording to have not scored a single goal in the league so far. Pretty reminiscent of their Maple Leafs history as well, so hopefully they rebound very quickly, but history does seem to repeat itself, right guys? Then the following day, January 2nd, we saw Montreal visit Ottawa for both teams' inaugural game in PWHL history, and not only that, we saw a new record being set for the highest attendance for a pro women's hockey game in North America, with over 8,600 fans in attendance, which is absolutely amazing to see so many Canadian hockey fans representing both of these teams so early on in the league's infancy, and boy did this game not disappoint at all. I'm repping PWHL Montreal this season. I sat there and watched the entire game, and it was honestly one of the most exciting games I've watched in a long time. It almost felt like a playoff game. I was not disappointed in the least, and I think the tens of thousands of people watching on the YouTube stream and on the other kind of networks, I don't think they were disappointed either. You had Michaela Grant-Mentis, who seemingly scored both the first goal in the game and Ottawa's first goal in franchise history, only for it to be called back because the puck snuck underneath the side of the net instead of going across the red goal line, which fans were super hyped to see that first goal in Ottawa at home, only for it to be called back. You saw the disappointment in everybody's faces. Not to worry though, because Hayley Skamura for Ottawa on the power play. This goal did count this time, the first ever goal in Ottawa franchise history, shortly after the disallowed goal as well, gave Ottawa the 1-0 lead, but Claire Dalton of Montreal scored Montreal's first goal in franchise history before the end of the second to tie things up going into the third period. Then Katarina Mrazova for Ottawa gave the hometown team the lead once again in the third period, pretty early on as well, within the first 5 minutes or so, but then roughly 10 minutes later you had Laura Stacey for Montreal tying things up once again, and we saw an assist for probably the Canadian GOAT at the moment, Marie-Philippe Poulin, the captain of PWHL Montreal, who I think is going to lead the league in scoring by the end of the season, but maybe that's just me. So the game was tied 2-2 at the end of regulation, which meant that we would see the first overtime game in PWHL history, and Anne-Sophie Betez of Montreal manages to score the game winner past Ottawa netminder Emmeryn Smashmeyer to give Montreal not only their first win in franchise history, but the first overtime win in PWHL history. Honestly, it was such an exciting game. The atmosphere was insane, especially with so many fans in attendance, and seeing Montreal get the W made me a very happy man indeed. And last, but by no means least at the time of this recording, we had the next day, January 3rd, which saw Minnesota take on Boston in both teams' first game in franchise history, and the big star of the game was Taylor Heiss, the first overall pick in the PWHL entry draft, the first ever selection at the draft, not only played her first pro game ever, not only scored her first pro goal in her first game, but she also scored the first goal in PWHL Minnesota franchise history. So the 23-year-old forward clearly living up to the hype as the first overall selection, the first selection ever in the league's history, and she played a big part in helping Minnesota keep off the Boston side and win 3-2 in their inaugural game in the league. Interestingly, this also meant that the away team has won all 3 games to start the PWHL season. So home teams are currently 0-3 to start the year, which is a pretty crazy stat when you think about it, but clearly going on the road has helped these teams so far to get their inaugural wins in league history, so can't complain with that if you've done all that traveling, right? Now, not only has the on-ice product been fantastic to start the year, it's been some really exciting hockey to watch, but the presentation of the league and the accessibility for fans across the world has been top-notch A-tier, ladies and gentlemen. Streaming the games live on YouTube for people to watch for free anywhere around the world has been an absolute win for the PWHL. I've tuned in at least one point to every single game that's taken place so far, and you're seeing viewers within the tens of thousands. I think the Montreal-Ottawa game peaked at like 17,000 concurrent viewers, which for a brand new league just starting and trying to put their name and put their brand out there is an incredible performance to say the least. And that's not including all of the views from CBC and TSN and MSG and NESN and all of these kind of local broadcasts as well. And not only that, they have a plethora of sponsors: Canadian Tire, Tim Hortons, Air Canada, lots of big name sponsors who you can tell are wanting to help this league succeed. You're getting the eyes on the sport, you've got the funding coming into the league as well, and if you take care of the behind the scenes stuff and you have a good on-ice product, the rest will take care of itself, right? If you had all the good behind the scenes stuff but the on-ice product wasn't so good, then it would only be a lightning in the bottle. It would only kind of last a little while before tapering out, you know? And if you had a really good on-ice product but you didn't know how to market it, it would be great, but it would become even more niche within an already niche sport within hockey. But I think what the PWHL is doing by advertising themselves really well, making the league super accessible to everybody, and also having a lot of solid sponsors there, I think that it's doing wonders for the league's brand exposure, doing wonders for kind of the league's relation to its fans, and I think the sky really is the limit for the PWHL at the moment. Of course, I've been harping on about how wonderful the PWHL is. I think it's only fair that we talk about some of the criticisms of the league so far. Obviously, the acquisition of the PHF put the league under some scrutiny very early on, especially given that there were a lot of PHF players who had contracts secured for next year and beyond, who are now no longer playing in North America for any of these teams and had to go to Europe to play because they didn't have a space for them in the PWHL with all the kind of Olympians and PWHPA players who have taken their roster spots. I think there's a fair argument to be made there that the transition and the acquisition of that league and kind of putting a lot of the PWHPA players first and giving them priority wasn't exactly the nicest thing to do. And also, none of the teams having their nickname or their logo or their proper jerseys sorted out is also a pretty big blunder by the league as well. I was very critical of this when it was announced that they'd be playing with kind kind of their own specific colours and their team name kind of diagonally lettered down the jersey. I think that's stuff you have to have sorted out for a professional league during their inaugural season. You want to create that brand recognition and that brand relationship really early on, especially for a league that's trying to punch a hole in the hockey world and get themselves noticed. That being said though, I have actually quite liked the jerseys that have been on display. It's a very clean, timeless look that all of the teams are using. They all have their own unique colour styles and colour schemes that really work for each individual franchise. Some do look better than others in my opinion. I'm a big fan of the Montreal's colour schemes for both their home and away jerseys, and I'm not just saying that as a Montreal fan. I do genuinely think they have the nicest ones out of the lot. So whilst they should have had this stuff sorted out, I don't think it's the end of the world. I think they had other more important things they needed to work on, like getting a solid collective bargaining agreement, which they did, and that was a big focus for them. So I'm happy to wait and see what happens, because right now the jerseys do actually look pretty good. It would be nice to see some nicknames. Calling each team PWHL and then the name of their city is kind of annoying, but you know, baby steps, they're getting started and they've got some good momentum going, okay? That's kind of everything that I wanted to say. The PWHL, it's a fun, exciting, brand new hockey league which showcases the best women's hockey players going head to head. Honestly, I don't have enough good things to say about this league. I have been nothing but impressed with everything this league has showcased, both on and off the ice, during its first week of official operations, and I'm so excited to see where things go from here. I'm so excited to see the interest in this league continue to snowball, and hopefully it becomes a huge league, a force to be reckoned with within the hockey world and women's hockey. If you're interested in watching some PWHL hockey and seeing if you agree with me, then check out their YouTube channel, PWHL. I believe their next game is tonight when I release this video, on Friday, January 5th, which sees Toronto and New York have a rematch. Will Toronto be able to score their first goal in franchise history? Will they be able to secure their first win in franchise history? Or will Corrine Schroeder and New York manage to shut the door once again? I'm really interested to see the result of that matchup. Give it a try if you're interested in seeing what this league is like. I guarantee that you won't be disappointed with the speed and the intensity of the game. Of course, there's always going to be trolls to a league like this, thinking that women don't deserve to be professional hockey players, or thinking that the league is a joke and men are the real hockey players. Let them say what they want to say. I'm not interested in dealing with that. These women hockey players have worked so hard to get to where they are. There have been so many great female players before who have sacrificed so much and lost out on so much in order to get this league to where it is today. And I'm so excited to see these players finally get to live out their dream of being full-time professional hockey players, earning a solid wage, playing the sport that they love, and not having to rely on other careers in order to subsidize themselves while trying to live this dream. So let the trolls say what they want to say, let them live in their own little bubble and not enjoy it. We'll have fun over here. Who knows? Maybe after a while they'll realize we're having fun and they'll feel left out and they'll come and join us and everything will work out fine. So good luck, PWHL. I'm going to be keeping really good tabs on this. I'm excited to see where things go from here. And on that note, I'm going to end today's video. That was a look at the Professional Women's Hockey League and the exciting things that they've been up to so far. What do you guys think about the PWHL? Are you already hooked on it like me and you're having a great time watching it? Or are you kind of interested in seeing what the league is about and you're going to give it a try in the future? Do let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. But thank you so much for watching, guys. I do hope you have enjoyed. Please feel free to like, subscribe, share, or watch some of my other videos. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye. A big thank you to Bexy93, Burned Retinas, Drew Fawcett, Houston NG, Raquel, and Worthless Pieces for helping support this video via Patreon. If you too want to help support the channel a little bit further and get a shout out at the end of every future video, make sure you head over to patreon.com/oddmanrush and become a patron today.